Hey, let's get some intro music. Oh, I'm feeling wild today, Scott. It's going to be a fun weekend. We're both going up to Tahoe. We just aren't hanging out together, sadly. But I'm in California for the Bears game because I don't want to deal with the litter that will be on my lawn if they win and the overarching sadness around the city if they lose. But we are two guys, one pod. We are talking to you today about the wildcard weekend wagers that we have on the mind. We are keeping it going all off season, so stick with us. The underdog streets aren't open yet, so draft a week don't start until we can, but we will be in there real soon. How are you doing today, Scott?
Really excited for this weekend. One of my favorite slates. It feels like the perfect number of games where there's enough to be interested in all weekend, but not so many that it's a little all over the place. So we've gotten to the good teams. This year feels as open as ever, and excited to get this party started this weekend.
Damn right, man. Dude, this is one of the most fun wild card weekends I've seen in some time. And to be fair, I'm a Bears fan, so I normally tune out of football season right around this time in the year. So this is my first time to be engaged this late in the year, which is pretty fun. But there are some fun games in general. We're going to be breaking them down today. Let's start by quickly going over what we had last week. In case you're wondering, I'm the Duck League champ. You can see the logo here. We're still running wild card competition all off season. Plenty of jerseys left to be won. Rocco took the lead this week. Love those guys on fourth and fantasy, but plenty of time for me to catch up. So we are going to see how that ends up shaking up. But last week we had basically like a full 50-50 split. We were high on Jalen McMillan. Didn't work out. We were high on Mike Evans. Also didn't work out. I was high on Emeka Ibuka. That didn't work out. And I thought Derrick Henry might get slowed down a bit. He didn't slow down. John Harbaugh decided to slow down the game for him. So not much to say on those. You have any takeaways?
No, the Jalen McMillan was probably more wish casting as that game played out miserably. I mean, I just hate watching the Panthers and the fact that we have to do it again this weekend. I'm excited to be on the mountain for that one. I really don't care to put a bunch of rooting interest in it. I expect the Rams to win that one, and they call it. They made it the Saturday afternoon game for a reason.
Yeah. The NFL is still trying to break into Saturday. I wish them the best of luck, but that game ain't going to get a lot of viewership. I know the Carolina Panthers are like, well, we won last week. That's cool.
Well, they didn't when they backed in, right? They lost to the Bucs. Miserable.
I know. they beat the Rams a little bit ago, which was cool, but I don't got my money on that happening again. On the good from last week, we had Tetaroa playing well. He did all right. Kenneth Walker had a bit of a bounce back game. You got that Seattle plus 825 to win the division. And we were good on Gainwell and Muth at 29.5 and 27.5, respectively. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I think we were largely like 50-50. I hate betting on week 18. I don't think I'm ever going to do it again.
Yeah, I didn't watch the morning games. Went to a little spa instead, which was kind of nice. Disconnect from technology for a bunch.
I noticed your skin looks great. In case you're on the podcast feed of this, Scott just looks chipper as a penny.
Yeah, no, that's my wife being in Vegas for the week for work and just getting to be on my.
You're going to a spa without your wife. That's
no. That was Sunday. Then she left.
Okay.
But no, I just threw on the afternoon games, made some bets, had 3 that I was interested in, and I was more excited to move on to Wildcard Weekend.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And we're right back into it. Let's start with some news and notes. We got McDaniel out of there. Kim Morris out of there. Harbaugh's out. Pete Carroll's out. You make anything of these coaching decisions? You care?
Stefanski out. I don't know. It's just
Stefanski too.
Yeah, it'll be good to see a shakeup. Most of these teams are in rebuilding mode. The Atlanta job seems pretty interesting. It's a winnable
I want that one.
division. There's a lot of weapons on that team. They're not too far away from being a good team. So that's definitely the coaching vacancy I'll be looking at first. And the Ravens, that's an interesting one too. A lot being put on Lamar for this, which is interesting because it was just a season ago that he had a better than his MVP type season the year after his MVP season. And this year, with a bunch of injuries, he wasn't as good. They weren't as good. And it's interesting to see this change. Where's Harbaugh going to go? Who's going to come in here in Baltimore? So far, a lot of the names I've heard are less than interesting.
Oh yeah.
So,
I hate seeing all of that. And to be honest, I think Lamar's gotten a absolutely shit deck of cards. Like, I I don't blame him for any of that. Like the Mark Andrews play, the Zay Flowers fumble, the Tyler Loop missed play or missed field goal. Like I hate making excuses for Lamar because it feels wrong to do it, but I sure as shit think there are excuses. Like, come
yeah, or like
on.
they don't hand Derrick Henry the ball to close out the game. I mean, it's not always the offense. Maybe they're not moving their point total from 28 to 35, 35 to 42. But a lot of these fourth quarters, they're not going in with 15 points on the board. I mean, this week against Pittsburgh was actually one of the lower scoring games they had going into the fourth, and it took a couple of big plays for them to really get on the board. But normally that offense has already done their job going into the fourth. And when it's a coaching decision, I know we talk about that fourth down play a couple years ago where coach gave the nod to Lamar and Lamar's like, yeah, I know I'm going to get this yard. Like, I don't know. It's just been an interesting couple years for that team. And maybe it's time for a change.
Weird squad. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I would love to have John Harbaugh as my coach if I'm the Giants or the Raiders. There is a clear name that I prefer over most of the other names on this list. John Harbaugh, like, despite any problems you have with him as a head coach, I think he has led that team to a pretty successful run of division titles, playoff wins at times. I don't know. I'm not willing to put that at his feet, but maybe I'm wrong there. Personally, I like the Miami job a little bit better than the Atlanta one, but that's just because I think Achan, like Jalen Waddle, like you put in a new quarterback there potentially because I think you have to. I don't think you can go back to Tua necessarily. They're probably looking at like a Ty Simpson somewhere in the second round. Plug in our profiles to come soon, but like I think that they'll have something that they can do with that roster, and they have so many freaking fun players. Darren Waller off his rap career.
Yeah, but I mean, Penix looked to be a decent quarterback this year. So you can go into Atlanta, you have multiple weapons there between London, Bijan, and if Penix is, if he can grow on what he did this year, then I think you'd be satisfied as a head coach. And that defense isn't that far away either, right? They're kind of week to week,
Sure.
which a lot of defenses are, but add a couple of the right pieces. But it's always good to have these shifts. It's what this makes this off season, like football all year round, so interesting. We got playoffs, then we start talking about coach fillings. Then all of a sudden it's free agency. We're into the draft. So I know some people will be winding down here, but I don't know. I feel like
We're
I'm
just
ramping up
scaling
for
up.
next year already.
No, I am certainly with you there. And
Before
let's
we
break
move
it into
on
the
from the
yeah.
Ravens, sorry, one more thing.
Please,
I just keep
please.
hearing a lot of flower shade out there in the market because he has too high of a floor and a relatively decent ceiling from week to week. Can we can we lay off say Flowers a little bit? Looked like he had a pretty good season.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, you might even say a great season. He had 1,200 yards. He was a top 10 receiver by most metrics. The Zay Flowers height or hate is something I'll never get. It's similar to when Marquise Brown had that great year in Baltimore, and it's like, no, but it's Lamar's wide receiver one. It's like, I don't know. Was T. Higgins super consistent on a week to week basis? Was Jalen Waddle like
Or
most
any
wide receivers?
receivers?
Yeah, like is any receiver hell like Jamar Chase was one of the most boomer bust players this year. You were pretty happy to have him still. So I don't know. Zay Flowers gets the short end of the stick. I'm glad you're on the same page as me on this because I don't know. I feel like Zay Flowers gets looped in with like the Xavier Worthies of the world, and I love Xavier Worthy, but Zay Flowers is a different kind of cat.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. We're on the same page heading into the offseason there.
Oh, I see the news item you added here. We have to talk about Rashee Rice and that he's going to continue to be not fun.
God, man. You warned me a couple years ago. I have like a vivid memory of I was doing a draft somewhere and the first set of news came out and it was like, and I told you so. And then you get through that season. He doesn't have the suspension this year. We played the whole offseason game. And this is just like a bad cat, man. Like, I don't know.
Not a good
non-defensible. So enough.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about him too much. Xavier Worthy stock is going straight to the moon. And by that, I mean Tyquan Thornton is probably the wide receiver one for the Chiefs. Let's move it into the players.
Again next year, the Chiefs?
Probably. I heard a terrible rumor about the Chiefs that they want to get Kelsey and Rodgers to end off their careers together. And primer for Mahomes coming back in the season. I would hate that. I know some people might like it. I would hate that.
I think you read that in The Onion or something. It's fine.
Yeah, I sure hope so, because if I see Aaron Rodgers in a Chiefs uniform, that might be my last straw. I might have to take it in matters into my own hands. But moving on, we have a plethora of games this week, but we don't have a ton of players out. The most consequential, I would say, is the Packers will have to start their backup quarterback, Jordan Love. Malik Willis is sitting out this game. So great for the Bears. How are you feeling about Malik being out this week?
I thought he was going to be healthy, but as the QB2. But interesting take there. Really excited to see where Malik goes this offseason.
Same exact thought. I think he is a fantastic pickup for maybe the Jets, the Browns. Good bridge quarterback. I feel like he's going to have a Jacoby Brissett sort of end to his career, and I hope that does happen. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is out for the Bears. Throwing that on there just for a little Bears love. Shouldn't have played our starters last week anyways. Ricky Pearsall is unlikely to play. I saw that as well. I think he still might, but like I'm in the same boat as you. I don't love the vibes there.
Yeah, and Greg Jennings has a rib injury he's been dealing with too.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that game later, but it seems pretty banged up.
Yeah, that's spoiler alert. I'm kind of into the Eagles this week. But we have Devontae Adams and Rome Odunze finally back from injury, so we're gonna have some fun this week. I've missed seeing those guys on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, welcome back.
All right, well, let's break it into it. We have Wildcard Weekend, so let's talk some games. And who am I to put the games in chronological order? Because there's just one game that's significantly more fun than the rest. And I just really can't go without doing this. Okay, I won't make it too long this time. But Chicago Bears are playing Green Bay Packers. We are playing at home because we are the better team and the better seed. Chicago Bears are actually a 1-point lead in terms of the actual line, but they're at home, so that's a little surprising. Over-under is 45.5. Who are you taking in this one, Scott?
Let's go with the Bears. We've been on the Bears on this podcast this whole time, and in a game I consider to be a toss-up, the Bears are home. Green Bay's banged up. I think it could go either way, so why not be on the team that I'm more interested in? I've been rooting for all year. Bears, Dunze, Loveland, Burden, Williams. Somehow they pull it out. I'm going to say one more time. This might be the last one. But
it might be the last one. We will have to play defense at some point in the next 12 months. I sure as hell hope every single selection next year is a defensive player. Um, Offense has been great. It's been really fun to watch. They had the ball for, I think, 10 seconds of the first half this past week. So I would really love to see the defense get some players on it. But you know what? When we're talking about bad defenses, Green Bay hasn't been great without Mike Parsons either. They've actually been a middle of the pack defense. Their EPA and passing plays has been way jacked up. The running game's actually been really successful. We saw Derrick Henry have that crazy week against them. Which lines are you leaning on this week? Because I really love the actual receiving overs, especially Roma Dunze coming off that injury. I think everyone forgot he was clearly established as the number one to start this season. And I kind of think he's going to step right back into it. Who are you leaning on your betting lines this week?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Rome's number come out after a couple weeks off. Man, this heel thing can be nagging, and we've seen it affect him in games. I'm trying to think of like how I can win quickly on Rome, and the way I like to do that this week is with a Rome TD at plus 245. He's definitely been a
Love
big
that.
target down there in the red zone. We saw Loveland take a little bit of that while he was out, but really we saw a lot of it go to some guy number 20. I don't even know his name. Let's see.
John
Let
Day
me just see the
Walker.
list in front
Of
of me.
course, it's John Day Walker. Come on.
Maybe Rome steps right back into that role. And at 245, I mean, throughout the regular season, this was plus 170, 180. So I like Rome to score TD.
Yeah, same boat there. I like that line. I love the Caleb over 210 is real low for him, and I think he is going to be a big part of whether the Bears win or lose this week. So I'm willing to take that over line. How are you feeling about the Bears running backs?
Yeah, so I want to talk to you about this, taking the Caleb line over 210.5, not very high. Both the games against Green Bay, they've leaned on the run significantly, and they've been very
Sure.
successful with that. And you think they're going to go to it first. I mean, that's what the Bears offense has really been down the stretch here is try to run downhill, control the game, and then pass out of that. Is this going to be one of those? It's the third game and they change it up completely because they've been showing this one look the whole time. Like, or do you think they go back to that run? Because I kind of like Swift, but you tell me.
See, I feel like I would lean on the Monangai lines. Like Monangai's been getting on the field a bit more, and I think they will lean on the run game. But the reality is, they tried to use the run game against Detroit. They tried to use it against San Francisco, and at times it was successful, but at times it was real slow, and their offense wasn't on the field enough. So if they're going to be in that sort of game script where they need to be scoring points, which I genuinely think they will, the Packers can put up points on the board, and the Bears defense is dog sausage, to say the least. In that context, I think it's going to be more of a passing script. But with that, I think the Bears offense runs a lot better when Ben Johnson is a little bit looser with the play calling because we've seen throughout the season, like the run game can be a dominant part of the Bears offense, but when it's actually at its best, the offense is typically flowing through Caleb as well.
Yeah, that's what I have been feeling. Like watch with great intent, being far more interested in the passing game here than the running game throughout the season, just liking those pieces better. And I'm looking through the statistics of both Monungai and Swift over these last few games. Monungai hasn't had double digit carries since week 15 in Cleveland. He did have 14 in four for either.
Wonder if
The more I look at this, it, it seems like 100 yards split amongst two people.
yeah, I would agree there. Damn, I was hoping I could snap the picture of what your screen froze as on my end. I got the little spotty connection from you, but you were like this. So it was a fun one to have there. What we'll see if we got that one in the live stream. It says the quality is better on that, so we'll see. Riverside. Still skeptical if this is streaming successfully. Hopefully it is, because I have liked Riverside otherwise. But let's move it into the next game here. And actually, there's one more line on here. We've talked a lot about the Bears. Anybody from the Packers piquing your interest?
Yeah, I'm glad we stopped here before we left because this is one of my favorite lines of the week. I love it. 2.5 is just too low. So I love Christian Watson over 52.5 this week, with also a small sprinkle on plus 430 at 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, totally agree there. Jeez. Well, that's fun. For whatever reason, it dropped me for a second there. But we are still on this live stream despite Riverside's best interests. I am paying for an account here, so hopefully you guys get that going. Moving on. So we have the least fun game of the week happening right before the most fun game of the week, Bears Packers. We have okay. If I get another notification from Riverside on my computer midway through the stream, I am truly going to lose my mind. I know no one can see this, but 700 notifications just popped up on my screen all at once. Awesome. I know this makes for great radio for anyone listening on the pod. And Scott's gone. Well, this is fantastic. This is going great. I will filibuster here by starting to talk about the most boring game of the week, and we have Scott back. Fantastic.
I heard you were talking about the skip of the week, so I just was going to skip it for a quick minute, hop on a better internet potentially, and then maybe you'd be done talking about it by the time I got back. Alas, it sounds like you were waiting for me, which is ridiculous. It seems like my plan didn't pan out at all.
I'm so sorry about that. We have the LA Rams playing at the sorry, I'm dying here. The LA Rams playing at the Carolina Panthers, and I will just preface this one with there we go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
It's plus 10 to Carolina at home. Let me make a guess here. Are you taking the Rams?
Maybe in like all the money lines in the world, but no, as I mentioned earlier, I think this is the one I'll be skiing during. If you held me up and said I needed to pick one side or the other, I'd take the Panthers plus 10.5. It's a playoff game. Historically, home dogs of high numbers cover with frequency. But watching this Carolina team is so painful. I've been rooting for Bryce Young for too long now. And watching him float every single ball is just not fun. It's just so infuriating. It's so infuriating.
Infuriating is a great
word. Exactly.
That's how it looks when Bryce plays. But no, I'm with you. And as you can see from the betting lines we put on here, the only one I threw on the show sheet was I like Colby Parkinson for over 19 yards, which, boy, if that's not a stinker of a game, what is?
Go do something else with your morning, your afternoon. I mean, Colby Parkinson, there's going to be four tight ends in that game. I don't know. Let's see. Is Terrence Ferguson going to play? Is there a TD prop of his that's ridiculously too low?
Probably.
So that could be fun. Plus 800. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good line.
Take that line.
And then another rooting interest, like I know you were really in on Sanders all year. What about Tommy Trimble, who's been super active at 6-1? No, I'd rather have Ferguson.
I'd rather have Ferguson without a doubt. Tommy Tremble's going to make you tremble on your betting line. There's got to be a better joke in there than the one I came up with. Someone put in the chat. But yeah, I'm with you. I've never loved Tommy Tremble. In fact, that's the reason I like Jatavian Sanders. So I'm not going to be leaning on any Tommy Tremble lines. I don't like Bryce Young in this game. Rico Dowdle's line's way too high. T-Mac's line is way too high. Jalen Coker, I guess, is one you can take. But boy, am I not happy to take any line in that one. Let's skip past it. You were right to be off the stream for a moment during that one. We have arguably the next most exciting game of the weekend. Buffalo Bills at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are underdogs by a point, over under a 52. Who are you taking in this one? Because I like Josh Allen. Like, if Josh Allen can't win a playoff game now, when the fuck can he?
And I'm just going to have to jump right back onto the T-Law bandwagon at all the wrong time. I think that this is another toss-up game, but I think that's purely because of the Josh Allen weapon. Buffalo has been a far inferior team all year long, specifically on defense, and their defense has been particularly terrible on the road. Buffalo has really not played well away from home this year, and Jacksonville's been good to get all the way up to the 3 seed. Are they the 3 seed?
I think they're the 3 seed. I thought they were 3.
They cared about the Bronco game. Yeah, okay, New England, right.
Yeah.
But either way around it, I mean, they played really well, especially down the stretch. I've heard a lot of Jacksonville, the Super Bowl. I'm not sure I'm that bought in yet, but I do think similar to the Bears, they find a way to advance out of round one against Josh Allen. I mean, that's what I feel like it's against. At +1, to me, it feels like there are just so many outs for the Jaguars to win this. So whereas if you're betting on the Buffalo side, you're purely relying on one thing to happen, which is Josh Allen being Superman.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that entirely. So who are we thinking in this one? Because the first line that stood out to me is Brandon Cooks had an all-timer game to start with the Buffalo Bills, and we're both bold at heart. I think we can both appreciate what Brandon Cooks has been in the league. He has consistently been a weapon on every team he's been on, except for probably the New Orleans Saints recently. But even then, I don't really give him a lot of credit for that. A lot of his target getter in Juwan Johnson is having a fantastic season, or had. How you like the Brandon Cooks at 19.5?
I love it. I'm seeing here 2+ receptions is -170. So the market's saying that he's going to catch the ball at least twice. He's been their downfield target since getting there. That's the point. I was trying to see if they had like a longest reception too, because he's been getting down the field so much. But love this. Totally right up your alley with the old guy serum. Wow. Oh no, that's James Cook. I was going to say. No, I can't even find him right now. So good on you. Good find. Hit that one early before other people get on it, because that thing will creep up into the mid-20s before the game ends up starting. So good find.
Yeah. I mean, I like that one more than Gabe Davis. I'm over betting on Gabe Davis.
He's out. He played a lot of snaps last week in the game that didn't mean anything. Same with Keon Coleman. You expect them to be the bottom of their depth chart and probably even healthy scratch this week.
Yeah, I could see either of them being a healthy stretch. How are you feeling about the run game in Jacksonville? Because that's really how they have won games and how they have happened to be productive assets for Trevor Lawrence in the first place. Like, I don't think that team makes the playoffs unless ETN's playing well.
Yeah, and I really think they're going to lean on ETN, as many teams do during the playoffs, leaning on their bigger back in critical games. Buffalo has been pretty terrible against the run as it is. They challenge you to run the ball. I mean, they really put up a strong wall against passing and really force you to want to run that ball, but they haven't been very good at stopping it throughout the year. So that's another line I really have liked this week since the beginning. Travis Etienne over 62.5 rushing yards. His carry total is 15.5, even money. I saw kind of like that. But if you get 16 carries against Buffalo, I think he'll go over. I was looking at the 2 TD line. It was only 4-1. I didn't quite love it. But what I did end up liking was Trevor Lawrence +170 for a touchdown. He's been getting in the end zone a ton with his feet, especially down the stretch. And in these big games, these quarterbacks run even more. So I was expecting this to be below, like, I don't know, +150, closer to even money with how often he's been doing it. You look at Josh Allen, he's like -140 or something for his rushing.
I saw that one.
Yeah, minus 135 for his
Unacceptable
rushing touchdown. So, I'm not going to touch that, but I'm definitely interested in Trevor Lawrence at plus 170.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. I think T-Law is a good pick there. And to be honest, I don't really want to touch any other line. I'm not sure I trust James Cook to beat the lofty numbers he already has on the betting market. And if I'm looking at anyone else, you don't know how Buffalo's going to win this game. If they win this game, it's because of Josh Allen. So just bet on him if you're going to take that bet in the first place. But let's move it on to a little bit, another pretty fun game here. 49ers at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is minus 4.5. I was a little surprised to see that line. I'm on the Philly side. I just didn't think Vegas would be on the exact same side as me on this one. 49ers have been pretty good this year, aside from last week. Who are you liking in this one?
Yeah, I really like Philly, not just in this game, but to continue to roll forward in these playoffs. I think the market's still underrating them. And I believe we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Silly for me to chase them in week 18 in a game that they actually probably were trying to lose.
They should have.
The way their corners
won.
were playing was why they lost. I mean, 3 absolutely terrible PIs that brought the ball, 2 brought it to the 1 yard line. 1 was a huge conversion. Josh Johnson was throwing loftier lollipops than Bryce Young, which is hard to imagine being possible. And these corners are just blindly tackling receivers on balls that they were just never going to get. So back to Philly now here in the playoffs. I really do like them. I don't know if I'm chasing the points this week. I'm just kind of sitting back and enjoying this one. The Niners defense has not been very good as of late, and I think this is a good spot for the Philadelphia offense to get right. I think they'll have some low-scoring games if they continue throughout the playoffs, but I think this is a good spot for that offense, and I definitely would consider the Eagles team total over. I believe that is 23.5.
Yeah, I like that line too. I think this game is going to go over in general, just because San Francisco can score points, even against a solid Philly defense. I do see the Niners able to put up 20 in this one, so I could see this game hitting the over. The line I really loved in it when I was looking through it was AJ Brown over 65.5. That's probably my favorite one on there. I didn't love Devontae Smith at 50. You might get a Devontae Smith game. You might not. The 49ers don't have a lockdown corner, so the Eagles will probably try to lean on their very vanilla offense that Kevin Patola tends to hit. So that makes me feel like he's probably the safest line. Saquon Barkley's line was real high, and so was Christian McCaffrey's.
Yeah, I really like AJ Brown too. He was another person I circled early in the week as a must play. I'm in a playoff pick 'em where you can only pick a player one time throughout the playoffs, and I do expect Philly to go far, so I don't want to take too many people too early. But you got to attack this game from the Philly perspective somehow, and this is good as game as any for AJ Brown to go off. As I said, I do expect their games to start being closer battles as they go further down, and they really start leaning on this defense that has gotten quite strong here down the stretch. And I don't know. I think this could be one of their highest team totals, maybe until the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, if they can make it there through the vaunted Chicago Bears defense and offense, mostly offense. But let's move it on to the next one here. We got the Los Angeles Superchargers at the New England Patriots, minus 3.5 to New England, over under a 46. You know what? I might be wrong in this because Justin Herbert seems to have come down with an awful case of Philip Rivers-itis, where he can play well throughout a regular season, but the second he gets to the playoffs, it starts crumbling. I could see him winning this game. I think Drake May might be fool's gold. Tell me how you're feeling.
I like the Chargers plus 3.5. I continue to like them more and more as the week goes long. But there's a part of me that thinks that Vrabel in New England finds a way to get it done and pulls this one out. The offense has been pretty dominant. They're going to play a more challenging defense here, but that really hasn't stopped them much throughout the year. The pass rush has been what's really crippling the Chargers, and that's been a weak point for New England, ranking like 31st out of 32 teams that this year. Though they do get important edge player back this week that could help put some extra pressure on Herbert. So I really like this number you put on here for Herbert. You had 230 passing yards. I found 223 on my book right now. I really like Herbert this week with a little bit of extra time. This one, I've been thinking Herbert over the last 2 days. We talked about his rushing prop earlier being 28.5. You put these pieces together, and Herbert, it is going to be a slow-paced game, by far the slowest-paced game of the weekend, maybe outside of the Houston-Pittsburgh. Yeah, outside the Houston-Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, okay.
But
that's not the game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do like Herbert, but I don't know. Part of me thinks that Vrabel and Drake May on this season are able to get one, kind of like we talked about with Chicago. Like, I think these runs continue for one more.
Okay. I mean, I think Chicago's is going to go for a little bit longer than that, but we'll see. I can hope. The only other ones in this that I really loved were like, I didn't hate Drake May under 2 passing touchdowns just because I think the Chargers are going to force the issue on running the ball. But the one thing I would say is I think that like Marion Hampton's line is probably pretty attractive. They have started leaning on him. He has shown a bit. Kamani Vidal's been all right and has certainly earned a role on that team, but Hampton being plus money for a touchdown at 115, I found all the way up to 130 on a couple books. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, Vidal's been in there mostly for passing. So Hampton really has gotten a lot of the run, especially down the stretch here. He did pop up with a small injury the other day. I don't know if you know anything more about that. I really haven't spent much time thinking through him yet since then. So
hate that.
At plus money, not bad. I do think he'll be getting those goal line touches down there. New England's defense hasn't been that good. So I am curious what his rushing line is as well. So yeah, average, bottom average.
Same boat. Well, we're going to be short on this episode, and we are ending on an absolute stinker. And we probably don't have live viewers because Riverside set the link to this stream incorrectly. So that's awesome. My support ticket has not yet been answered. In case you're listening, Riverside, just putting it out there. Awesome. But we have Houston at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is +3 in this one. Over under of about 40. 39.5. And you know what? Actually, there is a line I like in this one, and I didn't put it in here. The under.
Yeah, you're probably right. CJ Stroud hasn't been overly impressive in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to have pressure in his face all game. Gainwell, his receptions prop is probably well too juiced, but probably not juiced enough. Probably catch a bunch of balls this week. And I'm just hoping that Houston pulls this one out. I'd much rather watch them in another game. I'd much rather see CJ Stroud get to open it up against another team. Pittsburgh's defense really hasn't been that good, especially in the secondary. Nico Collins coming off a week of rest would probably consider betting him. His lines have been really low this year, often in the 60s. And if that's mid-60s, I mean, I love rooting for Nico Collins. And
I like that.
And Pittsburgh's secondary has been terrible. Like they got cooked by Flowers late last week, but they've been cooked a lot of times.
Yeah, they're a little burnt. I guess Woody Marks's line I like the most from this one, just because I think they're going to have to lean on the run game a bit. Like CJ Stroud's line was already at 240, which in a slow-paced game I just didn't get. I was like, okay, maybe I take the under, but 240 is like where I think he'll finish. I think he'll finish at 235. I really don't know that that's something I have strong conviction on. Woody Marks' total yards at 65 felt good. I don't know. I hate betting on games that I think will suck.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this will be one of those games where as I get close, I'll find a couple of things I want to root for and put pieces of units on them and just give me something to enjoy. Or maybe it'll have been a long day and I'll be coming down the mountain and kind of just listening in the background. So there's a lot of football left. We've had a long season behind us. This is a great spot to not put too much money on the table, and hopefully have a good week heading into Sunday night.
Damn right. I am with you there. I mean, okay, so we went over the baseline bets that we had for this one. I think we were pretty solid on there, but the one thing I would say is like, who are we thinking long term here? Because I think there are some futures markets that we can hit pretty well this week. Like, I don't know. I kind of love betting the Super Bowl props early. I'm guessing you do too, because you're a smart guy. Who are you liking for the Super Bowl matchup?
Anybody. This year could be anybody. That's the craziest part, which I think is so fun about it. I definitely have some money rooting interest. I was able to grab a good Eagles ticket during the season. I have a great Rams ticket from during the season. Had a Niners preseason. Don't feel super confident about that. So good to hold a couple tickets there. But right now, got to make a Super Bowl prediction. I'm going to stick with Philly. I've been on them all year. They're maybe not as good as last year, but do we actually know that? They're getting Lane Johnson back. The offense has been somewhat anemic, but we've seen that over the last couple of years, and we've seen them pull it out. So I'm going to go with Philly. And one name I haven't heard, and I don't know why I'm going to say it, but I'm just going to zig while everyone's zagging. And I'm going to say that Denver takes care of their 2 home games and finds a way to make it to the Super Bowl. Denver is a tough place to play. They get the extra week off. The defense might not be as good as last year, but they're still very good. They found a way to get it done at home all year long. Great coaching. Let's see Philly, Denver, and Philly wins it all.
You know what? I like that one a lot. I would hate to see a Super Bowl with Philly and Denver in it.
Yeah, me too.
I like where your head's at. I think that's probably a safer bet, and you can probably get like plus 1,000 on that. So it's probably worth taking the money on it. But you know what? I'm going to take it even further. I'm going to make it nice and risky. Give me Houston versus Chicago. The CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams matchup that we all want to see. Great defense versus arguably the most fun offense in the NFL. I would love that to be what I'm watching in a couple weeks. I don't know that it will be. I don't think the Bears are battle tested enough, to be perfectly honest. But to be fair, like, it hasn't really mattered this year. They've won plenty of games just through the bravado and trick plays of Ben Johnson. Maybe they keep it going. Fuck it.
Houston has been fun. So I like that. I would love to see them go on. I'm looking here to reach the conference championship. And the name that's standing out to me right now is the Chargers at plus 475. If they win this week, where do they have to go next? Then do they have to go to Denver?
Yeah, they do. Scary.
Yeah, but it's divisional at that point.
Correct.
That's a whole different entity.
You aren't wrong. You aren't wrong.
At plus 475. I mean, right now the Bears are 3-1, Packers plus 325, Niners plus 575, Eagles plus 175 is kind of nice too. Right. They will be the 3 seed, so they might have to play the Rams again.
Yeah, and I don't like the Eagles in that one personally.
Yeah, but the Rams have not been so great as of late, right? Like, they might have peaked at the wrong time. That defense is not that good. Pretty middle of the road.
It's good.
Not that good, especially deep. Michael Wilson showed them again last week that their secondary is terrible deep. So I'm less confident on the Rams right now.
I don't hate where you're at there, but I will object to you calling Michael Wilson Jerry Rice. I have been a huge Michael Wilson truther for 3.5 years now. And the second he starts playing well, I have to be like, well, I also thought Marvin Harrison would be good. I still think it's possible. Like, absolutely infuriating to have him break out just at the second Marvin Harrison empties that role. He is a good player, though. I I like what I've seen. I think he's going to keep it up. I would love to see him on an actual offense that utilizes his skills on a regular basis. Like, throw him in that Adni Mitchell role on the Jets, and I think he would score. He would have 1,000 yards no matter what.
Last year, I bet his preseason receiving yards total, and I believe it was 450.5. And it was going into week 18. He had 449.5, and they put him on IR for the last game of the year. And then this is the year he goes for over 1,000 receiving yards. So never wrong, just early.
Yeah, he was my most owned player last year, so totally get where you're coming from there. And he was middle of the pack for me this year because I was like, I'm not going to fall for it again. I want to, but I'm not gonna. Well, that wraps us up. We kept this one to 45 minutes. We got less games, so these are going to be a little bit quicker. We're going to be doing this all off season, so be ready for some fun content. We're going to be getting into prospect profiles, draft a week. We got all sorts of stuff coming up, and we have tons of free contests still available at League Champ, so be sure to check that out. It has been a pleasure having you guys here today. For anyone that found the stream link, Riverside, again, wish you guys had answered my tech support message from 9 a.m. today. It is crazy how slow people work. I get that it's January 6th or 8th, whatever, but come on. Regardless, I'm Addi. I am the Duck League Champ. You can find me on all socials at Duck League Champ, aside from TikTok, where I'm at League.champ. And we have my buddy Scott here. Where can they find you, bud?
You can find me as Chonks in the Underdog Draft Streets or on X as S Maltese. So excited to be here one more week. Excited about the playoffs. And excited about what's ahead. So stay tuned.
Damn right. Catch you guys later. Or what do I say? As we always say, Michael Wilson forever. Aaron Rodgers on Pittsburgh never. That one worked.
Except for he's on Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, but it's come on now.
Oh, okay.
We're about to
Michael
see his
Wilson forever. Jerry Rice never.
Okay, get off the stream. Goodbye.